It feels like it's been quite a while since I've talked about Anthem. You know, that massive game from BioWare that's releasing next year? Yeah, that one. To be honest, we haven't really had much gameplay to digest over the past few months since, well, probably EA Play and E3, so there really hasn't been all that much to talk about until very recently. Last week at Paris Games Week, we got a ton of new info on the game, as well as a look at some things that we haven't seen before thanks to some brand new gameplay. EA put together a live stream where they talked about the game as well as playing through a new mission, so I thought that I'd watch that all back and take a good look, and it would be a good opportunity to talk about some of the new things that were mentioned and look at the new gameplay and perhaps refresh ourselves on some of the older things too. Just briefly though, because it's been a while, Anthem is being developed by the BioWare team that put together the original Mass Effect trilogy, and it's an open world action role-playing shooter, and it's utilising the Frostbite engine, so you know it's going to have some beautiful vistas, scenery and detailed models, and it's due for release in February next year. So, new stuff then. Well, we got to see a new mission that we haven't seen online before. As well as that, we also got to see some proper Storm gameplay, which again is something we haven't really had before. We've seen some small teasers, but not proper gameplay. For those of you that don't know, Storm is one of the exosuits that you can equip called Javelins. And when it comes to weaponry, the Storm Javelin can equip every weapon type except the heavy weapons, which are reserved for the Colossus Javelin. And each javelin may have 2 weapons, and you can change them between missions. Each javelin also has its own melee ability that cannot be changed, and this allows you to deal damage when you get up close, and it's called the Fiery Strike, at least for the Storm Javelin. This lets you use the seals on your arm to deliver an explosive flash that deals damage and knock back enemies that have gotten too close. And if you've played Destiny, these type of unique melee abilities shouldn't be all that alien to you. And we did briefly get to see the Storm's ultimate ability, which seemingly combines the 3 elementals to make a huge explosion. The ground freezes, as well as a storm coming in and a fiery explosion afterwards. Quite the AoE damage it would seem. They did show off the Interceptor's ultimate ability too, but we didn't get to see it from their perspective. It looks like it gave the character dual blades for them to dash around, slicing up enemies, and it seems like something that I could definitely get on board with. The Interceptor Javelin was played by a member of your squad, but they haven't gone into too many details on that one just yet, and you can just about see it in the background most of the time. Going back to the Storm Javelin though, one of the cool things you'll notice the most is the movement. It pretty much glides around in this cool looking fashion from what they were saying on the stream. It seems to be the Javelin that can spend most of the time in the air. And while you can fly around in Anthem, you can't stay in the air indefinitely, and you do need to land at certain points. In fact, with the Storm, you're better off being in the air, because when you do, you're going to gain a shield and you're better utilising the abilities of your suit. The way they explained this is that the Storm is more of a ranged javelin, staying up in the air for long periods of time and perhaps picking off enemies from a distance, and the Colossus is the tank javelin, and while he can still fly, you're not going to be able to stay airborne for as long, and really you want him on the ground leading the way. He's much more of a big boy. The Interceptor is a squishy fast character that isn't going to take all that much damage, but you can get in and out really fast. So it's all about playstyle and choosing what works for you and the current mission. And speaking of missions, when it comes to the mission that they showed off, it's called the Lost Arcanist, and it has you looking for, wait for it, an Arcanist. If you aren't that familiar with the lore of Anthem, the Arcanists are a race of people who've dedicated themselves to researching the mysteries of the world of Anthem. They try to research and gather information to help preserve the knowledge of humanity. Supposedly, their knowledge and teaching has been a large part of the technological advancements of this world, and in this mission you're tasked with finding an Arcanist called Matthias Sumner. The Arcanists are just one of the factions that you're going to encounter when playing Anthem. Others include the Cyphers, the Sentinels, and the Corvus. And in the footage that they showed, the mission wasn't actually finished, as I think they're trying to keep story elements under wraps for now, but they progress pretty far and come up against a mini boss of sorts, which they just absolutely tear through. We got to see some of the non-hostile inhabitants of the world too, called Grabbits, which is rare because on Anthem it seems like pretty much everything is trying to eat you. We even got to see a crate that the player got some weapon parts out of. Perhaps this will be a way in-game to unlock better weapons and gear as you make progress. Let's talk about a few other things here. Frame rate. The game seemed to be running here on Xbox, but I'm not sure if it's a standard Xbox or an Xbox One X, but the frame rate doesn't look great in my opinion. Of course, they could potentially be playing it on PC with an Xbox controller as well. Could it have been just a problem with their setup and capture? Absolutely, it might have nothing to do with how the actual game is running at all, and hopefully that's the case, because I had to point out that the footage does look a bit choppy from time to time, and that could be a sign of poor frame rate. It was mainly at the beginning of the stream though, and they did have some tech issues to start with, so hopefully that's nothing more than a simple capture issue. That being said, I think there's a good chance that this game will end up being 30 FPS on console, but there is a long way to go until release, and as far as I know, they haven't really talked about what frame rate they're aiming for. Now, I was very lucky and I got to play Anthem at EA Play on PC in native 4K, and it was definitely running at 60 FPS back then. So interestingly, during the live stream, the executive producer on the game, Mark Dara, noted that the Storm's cloak was broken and thought that perhaps the graphic settings were turned down. So it may be that visually we weren't seeing the best that the game has to offer here. So if you're worried about the visuals not being quite on par with the previous gameplay and trailers, then bear that in mind. Either way, the footage we've been seeing is all alpha anyway, so there's still some way to go before it's release quality, and as I said, when I played the game back in June at EA Play, it looked incredible. Overall, it was really cool to get an update on Anthem because it just seems like it's been quiet for so long, and it was cool to see new gameplay with its release bearing down on us. I know that previously the game has been compared to Destiny, and the more I see of it, the more I can't help to see those comparisons myself, and not in a bad way either. There are big similarities in regards to the javelins and co-op gameplay, and I'm really interested to see what BioWare can do with the story to make the gameplay interesting and replayable, and will I care about any of the characters involved in it? I hope so. You know, one of my biggest issues with Destiny is that the story missions just aren't all that interesting to me. Hopefully that's something BioWare can nail, because for all intents and purposes the game won't have a proper multiplayer PvP component, and you know what, I'm personally fine with that because PvP in Destiny is not something that I'm particularly fond of, but I do know that a lot of players love that element of the game, so there could be an audience there that's disappointed. But primarily Anthem is a co-op game that's best enjoyed playing through the story with your friends. Now, I did manage to find a couple of other smaller pieces of information from developers on Twitter. For example, you won't be able to switch between first and third person. When out in the world, you're in third person, and when in Fort Tarsis, that's like the hub of the game, you're going to be in first person, and that's locked, and that was confirmed by Mark Dara. He also confirmed that there will be matchmaking for Anthem versions of raids, and that loot drops won't be tradable between players. So raids are definitely going to be interesting in this game. Destiny 2 I think has really raised the bar with their raids recently when it comes to shooters, especially with the last one, which the players absolutely loved. So I feel like BioWare should lean more towards the Destiny 2 style of raids and a lot less than something like the Division approach, which was a bit more bland and uncreative. I expect that the raids will be interesting though, because it's in a sci-fi setting and they can just do so much more there. Lastly, if you are hoping to be able to customize your game to your heart's content, you're going to be left a little bit disappointed, as HUD elements such as the health bar, reticule and other elements will not be customizable at launch. Sad face. Now, if you can't get enough Anthem, the lead producer Michael Gamble has said that he's hoping to grab a build of the game and show it off this week, and they seem to be aiming for November the 1st, so it's possible we might be able to see a better representation of the game in its current state, especially if the Paris Games Week livestream had the graphics accidentally turned down. So there's a lot that we don't know about Anthem, and it's going to be a very interesting few months to dive deeper into the game. I just want to know a bit more about it now. I feel like it's been left out to dry a bit, but perhaps that's just them being secretive and not wanting to spoil anything. We shall see. And for me personally, I didn't really feel that much hype for the game until I'd played it, and I'd seen all the trailers and I thought, yeah, damn, that looks like a nice looking game on the Frostbite engine, but I wasn't all that interested in the gameplay after the first trailer. But then, yeah, I got to play it at EA Play and picked it up, and it just felt so intuitive and it was just really fun to fly around. So, but that was just a limited demo, so will the full game deliver and continue that enjoyment and consistency? I don't know. Hopefully there'll be a beta coming up soon that we can try out. And that's all for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little update and look at new gameplay of Anthem. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you liked the video, give it a like. If you didn't, a dislike. Subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you in the next one.